Well, hello, my dear friends. Justyn Smith here, and I want to say thank you so much for making it a point to meet up with us once again as we are moving our way through God's holy word. Today, we find ourselves in Psalm 18 with this topic and title, A Grateful Heart. A grateful heart. It is certainly something that we desire to have. I mean, when you have a grateful heart, it changes everything. Your perspective on life is so much better. And so today we are going to ask God to give us grateful hearts, just like the psalmist right here in Psalm 18. My name is Justyn Smith with the Heart for Revival Ministries. Very, very blessed to have you with us on the channel today. Thank you for listening via whatever platform you are on. And we'd also like to encourage you to visit our website, aheartforrevival.com. That would be a blessing to us. So as we talk about a grateful heart today, we want to emphasize that which you feel within as well as what you express because of what you feel within in gratitude, not just to anyone, but gratitude to a holy God. He loves you and He has given His life for you, and yet even in the midst of that blessing, sometimes we are not grateful. So as we consider all of this that we are looking at, we want to examine the first point together. A grateful heart speaks love to God. A grateful heart speaks love to God. And I love what Psalm 18 verse number 1 expresses. I will love Thee, O Lord, my strength. I will love Thee, O Lord, my strength. The psalmist is not basing the strength that he has off of who he is. The psalmist is basing any strength that he has off of who his God is. And he is just making the statement that I love the Lord, and he's directing it to the Lord and saying, I love you, Lord. You are my strength. And as you consider who your God is today, you can lift up a voice of praise that says, I love you, Lord, and you can recognize that He is the strength in your life. And so a grateful heart speaks love to God. Number two, a grateful heart speaks of safety in God. A grateful heart speaks of safety in God. This safety that only God can give. And it kind of goes back to the point that I've already made about strength. In your own strength, you are so weak. But in God's strength, you can overcome. And right here, as we talk about safety, there is this understanding in the psalmist life that he has safety because of who his God is. And we are referring to the fact that, yes, men ought to be smart. We ought to be able to do what it is that we need to do to protect our loved ones. And so as men and women establish their opportunity to protect, there is still this understanding that there's no one who protects like God protects. There's no one who is able to protect like God protects. Notice what it says in verse number 2. The Lord is my rock and my fortress, my deliverer. My God, my strength, in whom I will trust, my buckler and the horn of my salvation, and my high tower. And so as you read that verse and begin to understand it, there are these characteristics or these attributes that the psalmist is giving about God, and he is translating that to our understanding as he is proclaiming these wonderful truths about God. You know, you can make a tower, but you can't make and build everything, right? You can find shelter in that human creation, but the enemy is able to rise above that human creation. When you consider who your God is, you are stating that He is something that no man can build, and He is something that no enemy can destroy. And that is where there is excitement in running to God. And as a grateful heart, you speak to the safety of God and you speak to the love that you have to God because of the strength that He gives in this life. That leads me to point number 3. A grateful heart speaks of continuing to cry out for God's deliverance. And right here in this psalm, that is what you find. You find a psalmist who is rejoicing because of the safety and love that he has in God, but you find a psalmist who is willing to cry out to God continued because of who God has been this time for him and how he is rescued, and therefore how he knows that God will rescue him in the future. Psalm 18, verse 3, I will call upon the Lord. Notice the determination the purposed individual brings. I will call upon the Lord who is worthy to be praised. So shall I be saved from mine enemies. He's worthy to be praised in so many areas. He's already talked about them because the Lord is his horn of salvation, his high tower, his shield, his buckler, etc. And he has delivered him from the enemies, and therefore the psalmist is saying, I'm going to continue to cry out. Now, those of you who know the scripture song, when we read these words, I will call upon the Lord who is worthy to be praised, so shall I be saved from mine enemies. We are recalling that tune in our mind. And the reason why we have put a tune to that is so we can be challenged to quote the same things to God, to sing the same things to God, to not only sing them to God, but believe them from our perspective, that God is who He was to this psalmist. And therefore, just like the psalmist cried out to God, I will cry out to God. So that is a challenge today. Now, a grateful heart, number 4, remembers where he has come from. And I understand that we're not dealing with the entirety of the psalm today, but we are pulling out a grateful heart. And a grateful heart remembers where he has come from. Here's verse number 4. The sorrows of death compassed me, and the floods of ungodly men made me afraid. They made me afraid. And so the psalmist is not standing here saying, because of the victory I have in God, look at me. He's not saying, I did right, even though he did by calling upon God and trusting in God. The psalmist understands that it was God and God alone that fought for him. And he recognizes, I know where I came from. I came from the sorrows of death that compassed me. I came from the floods of ungodly men that made me afraid. But God showed up. And therefore there is a grateful heart in the psalmist's life because God showed up. And when you consider your God and you consider who He is, you have a grateful heart today that says, I love you, Lord. You have a grateful heart today that says, I'm thankful for your safety. You have a grateful heart today because just like God's delivered you before, you know that He can deliver you again. And just like God's delivered you before, can deliver you again, you are very mindful today of where you've come from and who you are because of God. And therefore you can say, I have a grateful heart to you, Lord. Thank you for being so gracious to me. Friend, I want to say thank you for watching this video. Thank you for pushing play. Thank you for all those who will determine to hit the like button and share and spread the word. May we have a grateful heart for the glory of God. We love you. Have a wonderful day. We'll see you soon.